Welcome to Coffee Meets Cloud, where three women in tech come together to share real stories about leadership, life, and everything in between. Join our hosts, Karami McCollum.
In other news, these headphones, I'm going to have to do something else. I am on fire.
Cassandra Parker.
It's pretty basic. We have to stay fully caffeinated in order to do all the things that we do.
And Rachel Rogers.
I don't know if we can survive this. I feel like this one goes in the vault.
Your go-to source for candid conversations and unfiltered insights. So, grab your coffee, pull up a chair, and join the chaos.
Welcome back to Coffee Meets Cloud. Happy Tuesday for you guys tuning in on release day. It's another exciting week. It is guest week again. This guest, let's see, from Southern California to the South, today's guest has built not just software, but communities and culture that people want to be a part of. With over 25 years in the industry at companies like ADP, The Weather Channel, and Anthem, he has spent the last several years leading engineering teams known for their energy, collaboration, and a little bit of fun along the way. But what really stands out is how he brings that same intention and optimism to life outside of work. Through single parenthood, self-care, and giving back to his community, he's redefined what leadership looks like in every sense of the word. Rob Toy, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
How you feeling?
Let's see. I'm good.
Little nervous?
No caffeine. No caffeine on that one.
Man, maybe caffeine is the cure.
If I drink something now, I probably won't be able to sleep tonight. It's just a weird thing I have.
Yeah. You're one of the unlucky ones. I can drink like an entire Celsius and go to bed.
See, my husband has this thing where if he drinks coffee, he will be fine today, but he won't sleep 2 days from now. Like it's got like this really delayed effect in his body. So he does not drink coffee.
Well, those of us with ADHD have a superpower because caffeine does not jack us up. We feel totally normal. I can drink a double shot espresso right before bed and sleep like a baby. So,
which is why I think I have undiagnosed ADHD, but that's a whole topic for a whole other show.
Yeah, we won't squirrel.
We don't do medical advice, just so we're clear.
No, we sure don't.
I hope I don't bring any advice home with me from here. But, at least on that side. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, well, Rob, we're so glad to have you today. You right away have been a great supporter of the show. So that's been really cool. And when we talked and got a little bit of your background, I was like, man, this guy sounds really cool. We need to have him on the show. So I'm excited for folks to get to know you. We like to start our guest episodes when we can. With Kyle, we got a little squirrely, but we like to start out with just letting listeners get to know you a little bit. The first question is, do you drink caffeine? Like we just said, do you cut it off at a certain time in the day? And do you have a caffeine preference? Are you a coffee drinker?
That's a great question. It depends on what time of day it is. I don't subscribe to the Coke in the morning, like, those of us that grew up in the 80s, but I do like to drink Coke, and I try to have a little serving of it every day. It's kind of like my little thing. But I do drink coffee in the morning, and I usually drink one, maybe two. I don't try to go overboard with the coffee, but I do drink coffee in the morning. I'm not a coffee snob now, but I do have a couple of my favorites. At least one of them, is part of the Black Rifle coffee group.
Ooh, yes. That is good coffee.
Just Black or Spirit of 1776. I think both of those, they're both medium roast, but been drinking those for a couple years. So I'm kind of like a pro Black Rifle. But I used to not care. Folgers used to be the answer for everything.
Ooh. No, can't do Folgers.
Life was simpler when I didn't care.
Yeah.
But I care very much now.
I'll tell you a real quick story. I was at a diner one time, and they did self-serve coffee. And I would drink this guy's coffee. It was just a small dive in the middle of downtown Ackworth. And I used to tell him, I went up to him one time and I told him, dude, I love your coffee. It's just so easy. Like when I put sugar in it, it just hits. So I really appreciate the coffee. And he looked at me and he said, it's Folgers.
It's not anything fancy. It's Folgers.
I guess that's where my taste is. But no, I think I've evolved over the years.
You've grown into your new caffeine addiction.
Exactly.
I am a subscriber to all kinds, so I'm not specific, except for I don't care for Folgers.
I know your Celsius and Alani obsessions on the show. And
Amen.
yes, my daughter drinks Alani, my son drinks Celsius. It's just a weird.
See?
A house divided.
House
There
divided.
you go. Okay, next get to know you question. What's your comfort food or your favorite meal when you need to recharge, or maybe you've had a rough week? Do you have a go-to?
I was thinking about this question way too hard because I am considered a fake foodie, right? I have a food channel and everything else. But if it's comfort food, like I can keep eating it and I just can't stop eating it, or is it this is a good thing to eat when I'm not feeling well or whatever? It's there's a finite version and then there's an infinite.
I mean, go with both. I say go
Yeah,
with both.
I want to
wanna
know
hear
what
both.
you could eat forever and never stop if you didn't
Yeah.
have to.
All right. So comfort food has always been either steak for me or
Ooh, yeah.
like meatloaf. I have a few, sorry. Steak.
That took a turn there.
meatloaf.
I didn't
Meat
expect
eater.
meatloaf.
Right.
Meatloaf
Rob
is
is a meat eater.
It's a Southern tradition to have meatloaf, right?
I've
So
just never
meatloaf's
heard
got to be in the
anybody.
South.
When I think about a go-to thing that I could just eat all the time, that meatloaf really slaps. Like I've just never heard anybody.
Meatloaf.
You said
Meatloaf is so
comfort.
versatile.
Yes.
Like you could do a lot with meatloaf. A meatloaf could
You
have
could
ham
put it
in
in a
it. It could
garbage
have cheese.
disposal. You could put it in the
Hey, Kiermy.
trash.
No,
You can make a
cut it.
sandwich out of meatloaf. Oh,
You could put some potatoes and make it into a hash with some
Next
meatloaf.
thing, Rob,
Don't
they're going to be
even
telling us
start.
to eat spam. They're going to be like, you can fry spam,
Nope.
you can slice
Nope.
it, put it on a
I
Nope.
don't eat spam.
Nope.
Nobody-
Negative. Nobody's recommending that, Jeremy. That's a different show. Feel free to go over there. Talk to those people.
Nobody is going to offer remind me, good reminder. No one offer Carrie any meatloaf or anything.
No,
like
that
We'll
is
eat
now
it.
what we will gift her every chance we get. Anytime we
Let's do it.
meet, there's
I'll
gonna be a
eat it.
meatloaf.
I'll eat it if it's that versus Parish, but it's not going to be the one I pick.
When
Okay,
she
what-
comes to my house, I feel like I'm making meatloaf.
I feel like we're making multiple kinds of meatloaf just to
Mhm.
prove to her that meatloaf is
You
a
see what you've
versatile
done here,
food.
Rob? You
Have
see
you
what
had?
you've done here.
Have you had good meatloaf? Is what I'm saying.
No, she
She
clearly
apparently
has not.
hasn't. Right.
No, listen. In all seriousness, my wife has made meatloaf before. It's fine. It's edible. I will eat it. I had way too much of it growing up. I think that's the problem. I got burned
Edible.
out.
Edible.
No.
I need to revisit that recipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the key. Revisit the recipe. I'll send Jessica my recipe. It's
I
delicious.
still haven't gotten to my. I can.
Yeah.
eat
What's the
endless
other
Oh, yeah,
one?
what's
What's the good one?
We went on a meatloaf rampage.
God, I'm nervous now though.
I didn't know where that would go, so I didn't think I thought the steak or the would.
Welcome to Coffee Meets Cloud, Rob.
I'm very, very impressed that you all went on a meatloaf tangent. So there's a I don't know how many people eat this, but I buy roasts once in a while and I'll crock pot them. I've become a crock pot fan over the past year or so. And what I'll do is I'll put a roast in a crock pot and I'll put carrots and potatoes in there and I'll let it go for 8 hours or whatever. And then I'll serve it on a bed of rice. Now, not on the rice because I'm a rice snob. I don't like anything on my rice to the side. That little combination, I could just lose track of how much I'm eating. I might eat the whole roast if no one's watching.
Yeah. That is a primo combo.
You
It's really
have
good.
just called out, except for I made a Mississippi pot roast, which has the pepperoncini in it and everything. That's what we're having for dinner tonight. Literally, I can smell it. It's in my crock pot right now. And I'm
That
serving it
smells so
with
good.
rice because I agree and subscribe to rice and roast are a match made in heaven.
You're speaking my
100%.
language now.
100%.
Don't ask me why. It just works. Just
It
like
does.
waffles
Is-
and peanut butter. It just works.
Uh,
I don't know.
Waffles and peanut butter? That's
Okay,
interesting.
I'm just gonna refrain from commenting so
If
we
you've
don't take
never
another hard
tried-
left.
If you've tried it, kudos, respect. You don't like it, move on. If you've never put peanut butter on your waffles or French toast, along with the syrup,
Along
Okay.
with the syrup.
give it a shot.
Okay.
Make a little small portion of it, cut off the side, put a little peanut butter, give it an honest taste. It's great.
Question. Are there criteria to the waffles? Like if I go get an Eggo, right? Probably not going to taste the same. versus if it's a homemade waffle. So like, is this a homemade waffle preference versus
don't
an
think it matters.
Eggo? Okay.
I've kind of learned off the Eggo, and this is another small tangent because it didn't start at waffles for me. It was French toast for me, and this was actually in boot camp 34 years ago today. Happy anniversary to me.
Congratulations and thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We were in a mess hall, and one of my compadres started putting peanut butter on his French toast, and everybody flipped out. And he looked at me and he said, just try it. And so I said, all right. And I did it, and I've never looked back. It is something I look forward to on my Eggo waffles, on any French toast I have. It is such a staple. Peanut butter is always in the mix. It's just something with the syrup. It really doesn't have anything to do with the waffle.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, so if you were a cornbread person, right? Because some people do syrup with cornbread. Like, would you get the same result if you did cornbread, peanut butter, and syrup because of the combo with the syrup?
Good experiment. I've never done it on pancakes, which is kind of surprising, but I imagine it would taste the same. It's just
so. Rob, you have homework now.
Yes.
You have homework.
We need to, yeah.
Yeah, I do have like I said, I do have a food review channel. It's kind of low tech, but also junk food / food no one wants to try.
That's a great segue though, Rob, because that's what I was going to say. In the words of my favorite Salesforce account manager, I'd like to double click into a few things you touched on. Boot camp. So we want to hear about your origin story. I'd love to hear about that and from that point to now. And then of course we have to hear about this YouTube channel. So where does Rob come from? How'd you get your start?
Well, 77 years ago.
When dirt was new and God was a boy.
I mean, it probably is close to 80. And I'm just kidding. Let's see. Where do I start? You've already bioed me. Born in LA. Actually, was born right off of Sunset Boulevard, which is hilarious. Don't ask me why we moved to Georgia. Just happened in my teenage years. Let's see. Enlisted in the Army at 18. I didn't start tech until I switched my major in college was computer science at first. I went through the first year and completely hated it. We did Pascal back then, and I really had no idea what I was in for. So I quit that major, and I literally asked. I said, "What's the easiest major to get? What's the easiest degree to get?" And it was business. And I said, "Okay, I'll do business." And I got to the end of my senior year, and I took a MIS track, which was just a few courses, but got me back interested in technology and everything like that. It landed me a job at Circuit City doing data analyst. Actually, it was called decision support, which is very similar to like business intelligence at this point. Working with running queries and just doing financial reports. Well, a friend of mine there was working on the applications there for Circuit City, the call center, and they were running in Visual Basic. And I asked him, I said, "Look, I think this job's kind of met its ceiling. What's the future? What's the future?" This is in, I think, 2000. And he told me, get into web development, get into Java. So self-taught, read out a book, didn't really learn a whole lot until I got to a internship program that somebody offered to train you for free, but you didn't make any money either. It was a consulting firm. I don't think people do this anymore. Right place, right time. Got in with several people that trained with me. They taught us basic Java web design, web development, and they were supposed to promise you a contract afterwards so that you can actually work full time for them. That only happened for a few months. They ended up laying everybody off, but that was the key. That was the foot in the door for the resume. And from that point on, once I got in with another company, it was, you were kind of in that industry, and it was booming at the time, right around that 2002 and 3 area. I think there was a lull, I think right around 9/11 where the jobs was kind of tough at that point. But once you got in somewhere, it's just the skies were the limit. So the opportunities were really great back in that early 2000 era. And then, over time, switched to front end development with JavaScript and React and Angular, and then got into leadership after that while I was at the Weather Channel. And then from there, I mentioned Anthem a little bit through consulting. I worked at Park Mobile for the last job, and then here I am now. I'm not supposed to tell you where I work now, right?
It's fine.
Cat's out of the bag.
Cat's out of the bag. Rob works with us at Mag Mutual.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the very, very short end of it. It took me a while to get here. I kind of rejected the whole leadership thing for a long period of time.
Same.
And, realized the calling was there, through n number of outlets I have outside of work that kind of led me down the same road of leadership. So it's the right place to be for me.
Well, go ahead, Cassandra.
I was just going to say, I can tell, like, when you meet somebody, you can kind of tell that they're a people person. That's not always a tell that they'd be a leadership candidate, but a lot of times having a good personality and being a person that you can tell really cares about people. And I can tell that about you when we first met you, that you were really passionate about the people part of the job. So yeah, I think that you're in the right place.
I agree.
As long as you didn't know me in middle school and high school.
Oh,
well,
gosh.
we don't talk about that. We
Yes.
we grew up in the if I was in school now, where social media and my idiocy would just the things that I said in middle school, I would have posted. Oh God, I can't even imagine. I can't.
Please let these kids be dumb offline.
Correct.
Oh my goodness. It started coming out right on the tail end of my school career. So there's just enough out there to pop up in the memories to make me cringe, because I was like getting out of school, young adult, still being really stupid.
See, when Facebook became a thing, I was in college, and I was part of the first wave of people. You had to have a .edu email to get into Facebook. So like there is still some of that in the archives of my Facebook of my college years.
You're just glad your MySpace is no longer available.
Correct.
Let's be clear. All right.
Correct.
With your music you had gone on.
My top
hashtag bring back MySpace. Because if y'all bring that thing back, I will switch from Facebook
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I met my husband on MySpace. Like MySpace needs to make a comeback.
I have not checked. Is it active still, or is it?
I was able to log in. Now this has been several years ago. I would say maybe 5-ish years ago. I don't know how I did it, but I recovered my password and I got in. But I'll say all the pictures that are out there, when you go to click on them and it's supposed to like maximize them, they're how do you say that word? Shrunken? Is that the right version of that?
They're like thumbnail size.
Is it shrunken? Shrank? I'm saying that wrong.
Were you going to
tiny.
use another SH word there?
They're midget pictures.
That too. Well, Rob, so another thing I wanted to ask you about, because you've been open about single parenthood, going through divorce, that kind of thing. I mean, that can change a lot of things emotionally, logistically, for some people, how you see yourself. What would you say that period taught you, or how it changed you just in terms of the self-care and resiliency?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, divorce is different for everybody, right? I mean, I want to say that mine was, not as, tumultuous as some stories I've heard. Some people say, oh, yours was super easy, but it's not easy in general because, one thing I learned was, self-identity, right? And that was one thing that really I had to work on for a long time. And luckily, fortunately, I had good counseling that I was going through. And if you don't have that, if you don't have a support system of people that are speaking truth and are speaking, encouragement in your life, you can really spiral out of control really fast because you have so many things to worry about, right? Not only are you still have to work, right, and do the same thing you were doing. And then if you do have children like I did, they were in like their middle school, teenage years, navigating the emotional roller coaster they're going through. And, you may not know about that until the future because, sometimes they'll suppress it for a while and then it'll come out and, you have to deal with the ebb and flow of that. But then also logistics and then trying to care for yourself. Sometimes you forget about that. I actually thought about that part, when you asked me, as I was prepping, the part about you not taking care of yourself, comes really fast when you are now trying to figure things out solely for yourself and then for your children. So the self-care part it dawned on me that I wasn't taking care of myself. I didn't even think about that. I thought everything was fine. But then when you realize you've been thinking about everything else except for caring for yourself, and
You've
that,
gone through a trauma like everybody else in this
oh,
situation.
absolutely.
Mhm.
And you don't realize that. So when you get to that point where you say, I've always been I won't say people pleaser, but in general, you're trying to take care of other people first, which is a great characteristic to have. But when you ignore your own care, that's where the trouble starts, and that's where you can spiral. So fortunately, I was able to catch that when I was going through this, and really take steps to say, what's going to make me healthy, what's going to make me have my bring my best self every day to every part of my life, whether it's work or home or relationships or anything like that. How do I get to that point? And so that kind of led me to the first thing I actually did outside of, your physical self-care, right, was this YouTube channel that I created called One Star Reviews, where I was kind of like outletting all the things, because you can complain about everything in life, but why not put it on a YouTube channel and actually,
Sure. Realize it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And going through those motions and scenarios, I think I have over 150 videos now. I think I checked the other day. I said, "No, those are not all mine," but that really provided a very positive mental, and more so mental outlet to make sure I was still showing up for everybody, whether it was my job or kids at home, or everything else in between. Those things didn't stop. So I had to fit that in there. So you really have to make time. You only have so much time. You have to start prioritizing yourself and the things that matter in front.
And we can totally relate to that because, we've talked about on the podcast before, as moms, we usually put ourselves last because we're worried about everybody else, making sure that the house is taken care of and the kids and all those things. And that's kind of what this podcast, kind of where it sprung up, was to do something for ourselves that bring us joy, that we can get together and just really have that outlet to be creative. And so, yeah, I can totally relate to that. I think it's awesome.
And I love that you're sharing this outlet, because I think a lot of the people that I know, when we talk about this topic of finding time for yourself or finding a hobby, finding an outlet, I feel like a lot of people, myself included until recently, always think about the really stereotypical outlets, like go for a walk, join a gym, go golfing, or
Right.
and that either is not appealing to some people, it doesn't fit the schedule of some people. So
Or
I
it doesn't
think
bring you the joy that you really need to get
correct,
out of that thing, right?
exactly. So I
Yeah.
think we have to get creative sometimes when we try to self-reflect and figure out, and maybe you just start trying things.
Mhm.
Maybe you don't know right out of the gate what would bring you joy, and you're going to have to fake it till you make it. Try the painting class, try the content creation, try whatever it is until you find the thing.
There are seasons of this, right? And when I say I have this channel, I'm not fully focused on this all the time, right? So what I have is a giant plethora, if I could use big words alert here, a plethora of these outlets, that some of them you have mentioned in very similar categories, like, the working out thing is one thing, but like I also play tennis. I have a big tennis community of friends, pickleball. I mountain bike, which is a very good solo self-care thing, because I don't really like riding with anybody. I like going out there by myself, because it is a very good self-reflection of just different things. That's another story for another day. But then there's other things like I got back into drumming. I had a drum set in my basement, and I used to
Oh.
play never took lessons in high school, but I used, everybody's dream in high school was to be in a rock band. And so I picked that back up, and it was that was another huge, like, thing that I did that put my mind into positive settings, right? I remember I would post all these pictures of, oh, I upgraded this and that on the drum set, and a friend of mine said, I'm coming over to jam with you. And then next thing you know, we created this little quasi band, and we were recruiting guitarists and vocalists for our little garage band. We actually played a couple times live in front of people, and then but it was during that time, it was so exciting because we were actually we're actually building something together. And it was something that I've done all my, parts of my life that I always wished I could put it all together and like, make a band and, do all that stuff. But being at that point, late 40s, trying to do a band that might play every week at some, dive bar, that I didn't have that in me either. So
Didn't feel right. You didn't feel at home.
fell off. That fell off, but there's seasons, right? So that was a good season. They laid me off. I consider that a layoff because they said we're going to go in a different direction. We're going to come get our stuff because I had the basement. I had the band area, and they were like, "We're going to come get our equipment." I'm like, "Okay, I'm good.
Okay, it's fine.
Godspeed. Good luck to you." That wasn't my bag, but that was a season, right? And then so it's important that, if you find something, you also continue to keep looking too, because you may just wear yourself out or get burned out on your outlet, not knowing that there's something else that might be around the corner, too. So tennis is new to me. My girlfriend plays tennis. Shout out to Lynn. She plays tennis and she got me into that whole thing. Now I love it, so there's
Shout out Lynn. I hope you're a subscriber.
Yeah, Lynn.
You got to subscribe now. Rob's on the show. I wanted to ask too, after that transition that you and your whole family went through, did your idea of work-life balance, would you say that shifted like in the leadership career you had started building, but now you've gone through this huge transformation? Did it change your view of those things?
Yeah, I would say yes, because at the time all this happened, I was not in leadership. So it really gave me more of a blueprint, or I don't say a blueprint because it's not one size fits all, but it gave me a framework for me to know that when I do get busier at work and I get busier at home, that it's okay. Everybody talks about this work-life balance thing, and I'm sure it's been talked on about this show, but you can't always balance it. When they say work-life balance, you can't go 50-50. Okay, I'm done with work. Now I have to stop here or else, right? It doesn't always work that way. It'd be nice to, but some days are going to be busier than others, but you have to really organize it to where if you do ebb this way, that you do find the time to flow, on the other side, and giving your kids expectations on that is also a good thing. I never really talked to my kids about that stuff until I had to do it on my own and learn how to talk to them in that way. Like, hey, I would love to hear what your feedback, hey, I hate to use the word feedback here, but I'd love to hear what you're thinking I should do as a parent, and then what I expect you as a complaining child or as an adolescent that does whatever they want, that has
this child who I'm trying to, I don't want to raise to be entitled, but I also want to figure out what works best for them. That's definitely this new wave parenthood that we're all in.
Yeah, it's setting your expectations, obviously, because at the end of the day, you are a parent and you want to raise them the right way. You want to raise them right from wrong. You want to give them guardrails, right, and everything. You don't want to let them run loose and whatever. And I think, I from outside looking in, I think I've done a good job of teaching them those things, and then they have to experience the failures and the successes on their own. But asking them from time to time, how's it going? Like, what am I doing? What am I not doing that you wish I would do? And just taking the feedback, not just, saying what your wish is my command, but I wanted them to know that I was there for them and that I'm listening to them. And I think that's the important part when they get to teenage years, that they feel that you are listening and that you are creating like this space of like, hey, I'm taking my dad hat off, it's like, what can we do better in this household, to make sure we're all living in a harmonious way? Because my kids are sometimes oil and water. You'd think, they're being raised by the same people, they would have the same characteristics, right? That would be a good wish.
No, that is a false statement.
No.
But it's modeling healthy communication. Like, even if they give you feedback that is sometimes going in one ear and out the other, I think just modeling being receptive to someone else's thoughts, hearing them respectfully, and then, sort of acting accordingly. If nothing else, they're gaining that skill.
You should hear. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rachel.
No, I was just going to say, I think, one thing to circle back, as Jonathan would say, we'll get him
We need
on
a
another
bingo
late
card.
time.
Yeah,
We
shout
need
out
to
to
make-
JR.
We need to make a
Too.
coffee meets cloud bingo card for
There
the
you go.
corporate buzz phrases.
It's a good call.
There you go. And you have to take a shot every time you hear one. So you'll be
Oh,
drunk
yeah.
in like 10 minutes. But one thing, we were talking about respectful communication. You were talking about work-life balance. And one of the terms that I used to say is like work-life integration, right? So take the word balance out of the equation because it doesn't exist, to your point, right? And if even by changing that viewpoint and just how you phrase that from now on, if it's not balance, it's always integration because you're doing what the most important thing is at the time, right? Which may or may not be what, somebody thinks you need to do, right? It may be, hey, the kid fell. I don't care that they're 42 years old. They called me, so something must be up. I got to go, right? Or, hey, look, I've got to step away from the baseball game because there's an issue at work that I've got to take the 5 minutes to deal with. And so, making that switch and that intentional switch. And as we look at intentional switches, one thing that we're going to do a little bit differently on this podcast, surprise, is ask you, do you have questions? Like as you've been listening to the podcast, we've been having some conversation now. Do you have questions that you would unfortunately like our opinion on? Like, is there something that when you think of, like, if you could ask a question, technology question, parenting question, hey, why do women do stupid stuff question, like there's really right, like Karamie's all in. But is there anything that comes to mind for you that maybe you think like something the listeners might want to know?
We're trying to model that healthy communication, Rob.
Right.
We want to get your input.
Yes.
I'm afraid to start speaking.
No, don't be.
Don't be
literally, we can always cut it later. Like that's
I can
the other
definitely
thing.
see
It
how
could be
this feels like a trap.
No,
it could be the thing that never airs. Like that is a good disclaimer there.
Oh, that's funny. Well, to answer and not answer your question, it's a great. Thank you for asking. I wish I would have had time to prep the million questions I have in my head about this, because I do listen to y'all a lot, and y'all are very entertaining. Look at my language. I'm already saying y'all, right? I've lived in Georgia for almost 40 years now, so that's definitely taken effect. You mentioned the women are. Wait, did you mention women are crazy? That's
yeah, it was her.
Easy,
It was her.
I did. It's okay.
I've always said this, and I'll probably have to come back on to give you a really good question. I'd probably jazz Karamie about feature flagging, but that's not a question I need her to answer today. But I've always said this before, and I still hold true to it. Like, when I say all women are crazy, I mean, it doesn't negate the fact that some men are crazy too. But when I say all women are crazy, it's almost like all women are crazy, but you have to find the crazy that you can accept, right? The one that
matches you.
That matches your crazy.
I was going to say, it's not all women are crazy. Let's be clear. It's all people are a little bit crazy in their own way.
Or the reverse. Can someone define normal? Because there is no definition of normal. It is your interpretation of normal, of what is acceptable or not.
And you have to choose what you allow into your life and what you can accept, and the person that you connect with on that level. Absolutely.
That's another conversation about neurodiversity and the whole spectrum. Because I coach baseball, I coach youth baseball. I've been doing it forever. And the kids nowadays they're really something, right? And they're all
Amen.
They're all on this huge curve and trying to navigate and lead a group of 10 to 12 kids that are just completely, you just don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what their home life is. You don't know what the medicine they're taking, and you have no idea. And it's always such a grab bag every season when I take a bunch of kids and I find out what makes them tick. And then by the end of the thing, usually, very successfully, grow these kids into young men, right? Because that's the whole point for me. Teaching kids at this 9-10-year-old level is they're right at that brink of 4th, 5th grade, and they're about to see what real life looks like, right? When they get to middle school, and now it's your friends are no longer your friends. Now you have, issues with,
Ugh.
I won't say alienation, but isolation and, the cliques and all the
Yup.
popular stuff. That's when it starts happening. So being there for them at this point and getting them ready for that to build character so that when they get there, they know, like, the right from wrong, and they know how to handle themselves a little bit better. It's such a passion of mine. But yes, the spectrum and the I watch Love on the Spectrum. Hey,
Love that show.
no,
show.
yeah, okay, great,
Yes.
great. I
Yes.
live for that show. Not live for that show, but I really love,
Yes.
watching those. It's
My husband, after watching that show, attempted to diagnose me. So,
I have
Just-
often thought, am I autistic? I'm not kidding.
I know. And
I
you
think we're
know,
all a
'Cause
little bit
I
on the
agree.
spectrum.
Just like we've
Yeah,
talked about,
right.
it's all
Yeah.
There's shades of everything, right? Like
There
yes.
is. And I think that's where, like, to go back to learning a little bit, right? I think that's where learning has really missed a bunch of people, right?
Mhm.
Because we teach things one way and everybody's expected to learn and
You
everybody's
can blame
expected
No
to
Child
do
Left Behind, Rachel.
right. Well, they're leaving the kids. Them kids done left, right?
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
it's that whole thing. And then now I think this is where, though, technology is filling a gap, and a very important gap, right? Because now if I don't know, I can YouTube it, right? And I can
Yeah.
get additional resources that were never available before. So when you talk about kids who were truly left behind, right, that are now adults, that are, maybe even still not diagnosed because it wasn't popular to be diagnosed when you were a kid, right? Shows like Love on the Spectrum, exposing things, giving people education, even though there is an entertainment quality to it. I've heard of a lot of now later in life adults actually
Mhm.
getting the help they need because now they know what to ask for.
Well,
Right?
and the topics themselves, or having a diagnosis, we're losing the stigma around those
Exactly. It's
things.
no longer taboo.
It's more normalized. So
Mhm.
it honestly seems like probably the human existence has always been a spectrum, but we've only known about a very finite amount of things. So everybody was placed in some sort of box because there were just a few boxes that we really understood. And the more we're learning about humans, it's just, oh, wait a minute. We don't actually have boxes. We're just
It's
on this
it's
big
like the
continuum.
stupid BMI scale that never gets updated, right?
It's from
That,
like the 60s.
Right, that like does
Why
not
do we even
apply
still have it?
anymore.
Pretty hilarious.
I
It's
don't know.
ridiculous.
But
If I
we're-
was like
yeah.
on track, I would probably look like I was dead.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
We
Oh,
would
yeah.
all
Right.
just look like skinny, sickly people, and it would just be pitiful. Because
And I don't
Right.
care what you say, being big boned is a thing. You are
I
never
agree.
going to
Yes.
convince me
Yes.
otherwise. I've seen
Also,
people.
Same
boned.
thing with dogs, right? You try to tell me my dog's overweight, and I'm looking at that dog going, that dog ain't overweight. Like, that dog is perfectly proportioned,
And even if
right?
he is
He's a
overweight,
little
Rachel,
longer.
he's living
right?
better than some humans. So who cares if he's overweight?
I want to come back in my next
Mhm.
life as my dogs. They live
Gotta-
better
right.
than people.
Queen of Sheba.
You got to be specific, though, as your dogs, because some
Yes,
people,
my dogs, not just
right.
any dogs. It's got to be my
No,
specific
no.
dogs,
No,
or
I'm just
either
saying.
one of your dogs. I would do
Yes.
that. Too.
I mean, look, this is taking a turn.
I was
okay?
going to say, Rob,
So,
welcome to
hard
this
left.
winding
Yes.
road we go down every week.
Mhm.
Because we don't have an unlimited amount of time, I do have some wrap-up questions I'd like to ask you, if you don't mind.
Perfect.
Okay, if you could go back and tell your past self one thing during that hardest season, what would it be?
So I tell this to a lot of people who go through things, and people get really riled up over different things, right? And the two words I could tell my younger self, or anybody that's going through something, is don't panic.
Don't
Right?
panic.
I think once we get to that stage where we're panicked, both my kids seem to have, I don't know where they got this from. They sometimes they'll have little panic attacks,
Yeah.
and when you get there, you really have low control. I won't say no control. You have low control of what actions you're taking at that
Mhm.
point. And you could do something that'll harm someone else. You could say something that you can't take back. Any number of things can happen when you lose control. And
Yep.
so if it's a child standing on the pitcher's mound, or it's somebody, that's just going through some stuff and they're really looking to, fight back or react or whatever, I always tell people, don't panic, just relax, calm down, step out of the situation, regroup your thoughts, and then go forward, because we do a lot of things these days that some people, if you know social media, you can't erase, you can't go back and change it. And some people are suffering from
Yep.
a lot of those things. So
If
for me,
if you've not read the book, The Anxious Generation, pick it up. It talks about how a lot of kids now have panic attacks, have anxiety attacks, and how that really started and got amplified with the pandemic. And it's a book that they actually use for teachers to help them understand how to teach those kids and how to help those kids. So highly recommend looking up that book.
Yeah. And then people that are, I was, a product of being laid off, earlier this year. And then, the same in 2018. Don't panic. Again, the job market will come back. Again, it's longer for some, and some people are feeling the effects right now a little bit longer term. But as soon as you panic is when now you start making desperation decisions, and that doesn't end well usually. So that's good advice for me right now. Yeah, every day.
That idea of not panicking, it makes me think of this. One of the coolest things, it sounds so corny, but one of the coolest things I participated in was a mindfulness. Cassandra, I know you'll remember this. Maybe you will too. They did a mindfulness session, and that one of the things he was talking about was how your brain will just you'll just spin up a whole different story than the reality of what's happening. In that split second of an experience, it goes from being this very matter-of-fact event that just occurred to this whole story you've spun up in your head. And it's about sort of gaining that perspective of what the reality of the situation is to really bring you back. And really only through practicing mindfulness, which I think is really what therapy is anyway, is just mindfulness and accountability. You have to just practice it, because it's not going to come. Your fight or flight's going to kick in. You're a human. That's the human brain. You just have to practice it to get better at it. But I thought that was the coolest thing.
It's a muscle. Sometimes people go, "Oh, I used to do therapy all the time. I'm good." And it's like,
No.
you have to continue to. It's like a muscle. You have to keep working it.
Yep. The last question I will ask you, for all the benefit of the followers here, is where can listeners connect with you or follow you? Let's make sure they heard that YouTube channel. Drop that name again.
Yep, it's 1-star reviews, but it's a play on words, right? The one is not one, it's Juan. So like wonton. Tried to throw a little culture in there. So it's WON star reviews.
Okay.
And I'm on YouTube. So check it out. I'll have
Pulling it up right now.
Yeah, I'll do low level tech too, right? I'll do like products you see, you get from Amazon. I'll do some unboxing, some quick reviews there, but check out the food stuff. Some of the stuff's pretty gross.
Okay.
Gross
and then you're and then you're on LinkedIn too.
Definitely on LinkedIn or at Rob Toy. Actually I think it's under R116, I think. But yeah, just look me up, Rob Toy.
We'll tag you in the episode when we launch it so people can find you.
Yeah, definitely. And if I see you on the tennis court somewhere or the pickleball court, just wave at me before I hit a ball over your head.
I'm so uncoordinated.
Or accidentally whack you with my racket.
Caramy was going to be my partner at an event.
Y'all, yeah. I don't know where that communication broke down. That was a miscommunication, and somebody led Rob to believe he and I could participate in a pickleball tournament. I said, Rob, with all due respect, I have never picked up a tennis racket. Well, that's not true. I've picked one up. I have never used one in my life. I would look like an octopus running back and forth on our side of that net, and you would not win. So if you're serious about succeeding in this tournament, you really need to find
I was so excited. I said, Caramy, we're going to take this thing. She said, never played. I said, oh, gosh.
I was like, Caramy is not at the same level as you, Rob. We had to bring it down.
I said, back up.
Yeah, back up. I used to play tennis, so I feel like I would like pickleball. I loved playing tennis. I haven't played in years, but I need to try it out.
I just have this vision of Caramy getting wrapped up in the net somehow and having to be like surgically removed from the net because she's done something spectacular.
I am very aggressive, and I did that when I played tennis. I was playing like a doubles, and I ran too much to try to get a dig, and bam, right into the
So
net,
you're
flipped
already
over.
saying
broke
saying
my
things
leg.
that mean nothing to me.
Yeah,
Like,
there
I
you
feel like
go,
you're
Sarah.
just pulling words out of the air.
I didn't really
That's
break
something
my
we need to
leg,
play.
but I definitely hurt myself in a really bad way.
We need to play too, Cassandra.
All right, let's do it. I'm competitive, so whether or not I am great or suck, I'm gonna go all in 110%.
Next PI event when you're in, we'll
All right,
find some time.
that's a deal.
Yep.
Oh, well, on that note, we are out of time today. What an incredible conversation. Rob's honesty about single parenthood, leadership, finding balance reminds us that growth doesn't just happen in our careers, it happens in the quiet, messy, beautiful parts of life too. Rob, thank you for sharing your story and the wisdom you've learned along the way. If today's episode resonated with you, share it with a friend or tag us on social. We love hearing your takeaways. And as always, thanks for spending your coffee break with us. Until next time, keep finding the joy in the journey. We'll see you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.